Have you ever looked at a picture where straight lines appear to bend and curve? You trace them with your finger and confirm they are perfectly straight. Yet, when you look again, the illusion returns. The lines stubbornly warp before your very eyes. This simple experience reveals a profound truth. Seeing is not a passive act of receiving information, like a camera recording a movie. Instead, it is an active, creative process. Your brain is not just a spectator, it is a master storyteller, constantly guessing, interpreting, and even inventing parts of the visual world you experience every moment you are awake. This essay will take you on a journey. We will travel from the first photon of light that enters your eye to the intricate neural symphony that plays out in your brain. We will explore how your eyes are not just windows, but sophisticated light-gathering instruments. Then, we will dive into the brain, the true artist behind the curtain. It takes the raw data sent from your eyes and constructs the vibrant, three-dimensional reality you perceive. Understanding this process shows us that what we call seeing is really a collaboration between the physical world and the predictive powerhouse inside your skull. The illusion of the bending lines is not a flaw in your vision, it is a feature. It is a clue that tells us your brain is using a set of rules and assumptions to make sense of the incoming light. Most of the time, these rules work beautifully. They allow you to navigate a complex world with incredible speed and efficiency. But sometimes, these shortcuts can be tricked. By studying these tricks, these illusions, we can peek behind the curtain and understand the hidden mechanisms that construct your perception of reality. It shows that your brain is actively building your world, not just reflecting it. So, let's begin this exploration into one of the most amazing feats of biology, your sense of sight. We will uncover how a cascade of simple physical events and chemical events gives rise to the rich tapestry of your visual experience. You will learn that your eyes are not telling you the whole truth. They are providing clues, and your brain is filling in the rest of the story. By the end, you may look at the world a little differently, knowing that the reality you see is a masterpiece painted not just by light. Our journey into sight begins with the eye itself, a remarkable organ shaped by millions of years of evolution. Think of it as the frontline hardware for your visual system. Light, energy traveling in waves, it bounces off every object around you. A fraction of this light heads straight toward your eye. The very first part it encounters is the cornea, transparent, dome-shaped outer layer. The cornea is a powerful lens. It bends light, the initial refraction to start focusing the image. Just behind the cornea is the iris, the colored part of your eye. Blue, green, brown. In the center of the iris is the pupil. It looks like a black dot. The pupil is actually an opening that controls how much light gets deeper into the eye. In bright sunlight, the iris constricts and the pupil gets smaller. In a dim room, the iris relaxes and the pupil widens to let in more light. That's why it takes a moment to adjust when you walk into a dark theater. After passing through the pupil, light reaches the lens. The lens is a clear, flexible structure sitting just behind the iris. Its job is fine-tuning focus. Tiny muscles attached to the lens change its shape. The lens gets thicker to focus on nearby objects. Example, the words on this page. The lens gets thinner to focus on distant objects. Example, a tree across a field. This process is called accommodation, shifting focus from near to far. As we age, the lens can become less flexible. That's why many people need reading glasses later in life. Focused light passes through the jelly-like vitreous and lands on the retina. The retina is a thin layer of tissue lining the very back of the eye. This is where the magic really starts to happen. The retina isn't just a screen, it's neural tissue, an outcropping of the brain. It's packed with millions of specialized cells that detect light and translate it. From here, the optic nerve carries that information away for processing. End card, diagram, cornea, iris, pupil, lens, retina, optic nerve. The retina is where the physical world of light is translated into the biological world of neural signals. This is a crucial step. Without it, light would just be energy warming the back of your eye. The retina is equipped with millions of photoreceptor cells, which are the primary light detectors. There are two main types of these cells, and they each have a distinct job. They are called rods and cones. They work together as a team to give you a complete picture of the world, whether you are in the bright sun or a dimly lit room. Rods are incredibly sensitive to light. They are the masters of night vision. There are about 120 million rods in each retina, and they are mostly located around the edges of it. They do not see in color and are not good with fine details. Instead, their specialty is detecting motion and shapes in low-light conditions. They are the reason you can navigate your bedroom at night without bumping into furniture. When you glimpse something moving out of the corner of your eye, you can thank your hard-working rods for the early warning. Cones, on the other hand, are the specialists of daylight and color. You have about 6 million cones, and they are most densely packed in a tiny spot in the center of your retina called the fovea. This is your high-definition zone. When you look directly at something to see it clearly, like reading a sign or recognizing a face. So, how does this translation happen? When a photon of light strikes a photoreceptor cell, it hits a special molecule called a photopigment. This impact causes the molecule to change its shape. This small physical change sets off a chemical chain reaction inside the cell. It's like flipping a switch. This reaction ultimately changes the electrical state of the photoreceptor, which in turn sends a signal to the next layer of cells in the retina. This is the birth of a neural signal. An event in the physical world has just been converted into the language of the nervous system. Once the retina has converted light into a stream of electrical signals, the information embarks on a high-speed journey to the brain. The signals travel along a massive bundle of nerve fibers called the optic nerve. Think of it as a biological fiber optic cable connecting each eye to the brain. The two optic nerves meet at a junction called the optic chiasm, where some of the fibers cross over. This crossover ensures that information from the right side of your visual world goes to the left side of your brain, and information from the left side of your visual world goes to the right. The signal's main destination is a region in the very back of your brain, called the occipital lobe. Within this lobe is the primary visual cortex, also known as V1. This is the brain's main receiving dock for visual information. However, the information that arrives here is not a complete picture. It is more like a deconstructed mess of raw data. The visual cortex acts like a team of highly specialized analysts. It is organized into different groups of neurons, each responsible for detecting very specific features in the visual scene. Some neurons in the visual cortex fire only when they detect a line at a specific angle. Other neurons are dedicated to spotting horizontal lines, and still others to vertical ones. There are groups of cells that respond to color, particularly the contrast between colors like red and green. Other groups are motion detectors, firing excitedly when something moves in a specific direction across your field of view. The visual cortex essentially breaks down the entire visual scene into its most basic components: edges, angles, colors, and movements. It's a process of systematic disassembly. From the primary visual cortex, the information is sent out along two major pathways for further processing. One pathway, often called the what pathway, travels toward the temporal lobe. This pathway is responsible for object recognition. It helps you identify what you are looking at, whether it's a coffee cup, a dog, or your best friend's face. The other pathway, the where or how pathway, goes up toward the parietal lobe. This pathway is concerned with spatial information. It tells you where an object is in space and how to interact with it, guiding your hand as you reach out to pick up that coffee cup. Your brain is a master at creating a rich three-dimensional world from the flat two-dimensional images projected onto your retinas. One of its most powerful tools for this is depth perception. The primary method for judging distance is binocular vision. Because your two eyes are set a few inches apart, they each see the world from a slightly different angle. Your brain compares these two slightly different images. The greater the difference, or disparity, between the two images, the closer the object is to you. This is why 3D movies work. They present a different image to each eye, tricking your brain into perceiving depth. But binocular vision is not the only trick up the brain's sleeve. It also uses a host of monocular cues, which are clues that work even with just one eye. For example, if one object overlaps another, your brain assumes the overlapping object is closer. Relative size is another cue. If you see two cars and one looks much smaller, you assume it is farther away. Texture gradient helps too. The texture of a surface, like a gravel road, appears finer and less detailed as it recedes into the distance. Finally, motion parallax is a powerful cue when you are moving. Closer objects appear to zip by quickly while distant objects seem to move slowly. Color vision is another miracle of brain processing. It begins with the 3 types of cone cells in your retina, each sensitive to red, green, blue light. Your brain performs a remarkable calculation comparing activity from each cone type. If the red-sensitive cones are firing strongly while the others are not, you perceive the color red. If both red and green cones are firing, your brain interprets this combination as yellow. Detecting motion is a fundamental survival skill, and your brain is exquisitely tuned for it. Specialized neurons in your visual cortex are dedicated to detecting movement. They fire when an object's image shifts across the retina. Some of these cells are tuned for speed, others for direction. This system is so effective you can perceive motion when there is none. A movie is just a rapid sequence of still pictures. Your brain smoothly connects the dots, creating the illusion of continuous movement. This process helps you catch a ball, dodge a moving car, and track a bird flying across the sky. Visual illusions are more than just fun puzzles. They are windows into the inner workings of your visual system. They reveal the hidden assumptions and shortcuts your brain uses every day. They help construct your perception of reality. When an illusion tricks you, it's because the image violates one of these built-in rules. Take the Müller-Lyer illusion. Two identical length lines are shown. One line has arrowheads pointing inward. The other has arrowheads pointing outward. The outward pointing line looks longer. Why does this happen? One theory: your brain applies rules from 3D experience to flat 2D images. Outward fins resemble the far corner of a room. Inward fins resemble a near corner of a building. Your brain assumes distant objects must be physically larger to produce the same retinal size, so it corrects for perceived distance, making the farther lines seem longer. The illusion links size perception to depth perception. Another quirk, the blind spot. At the back of each eye is a small area where the optic nerve exits the retina. That spot has no photoreceptors and no rods or cones. It's completely blind, yet you don't see a black hole. Why not? Because the brain fills in the gaps. It uses surrounding information to guess what's in the blind spot. It patches the hole with expected color and texture, so you're unaware anything is missing. Motion illusions teach us too. The rotating snake's illusion is a static image that appears to writhe and turn. The elegant and efficient design of the human visual system has long been a source of inspiration for engineers and inventors. By understanding how our eyes and brains work, we can create smarter and more effective technologies. The most obvious example is the camera. At its core, a camera is a mechanical eye. It has a lens to focus light. Cornea. Lens. Inside the eye. It has an aperture that can open and close to control the amount of light. Pupil. It has a sensor. Film. Digital chip. Retina. The inspiration goes much deeper than just hardware. The field of computer vision is dedicated to teaching machines how to see and interpret the world. Early attempts tried to program computers with a set of rigid rules, but this proved to be very difficult. Modern approaches, however, are inspired by the brain's neural networks. They use deep learning models with multiple layers. First layers. Detect edges. First layers. Detect colors. Primary visual cortex analogy. Later layers combine features to recognize faces, cars, animals. Mirroring the what pathway in the brain. Virtual reality. Augmented reality. VR headsets present a slightly different image to each eye, mimics binocular disparity, and tricks depth perception. These systems track your head movements with extreme precision. They update the display in real time to match your movements. Motion parallax explanation are visual. In conclusion, seeing is a far more complex and creative act than we often assume. Not a simple window, but a collaborative masterpiece, co-authored by your eyes and your brain. Light provides the raw script. The eye acts as the camera. The retina translates it into a neural language. The brain acts as director, editor, special effects artist.